Yes, so
Stay positive. Okay, I
okay.
I know I Tibuzo. How you going?
Hi,
I
Tanya. Okay.
Hello.
if you guys are in a capacity to turn on your video, that would be really great. How has the week been? Any interesting thing happening?
Slow.
It's only Tuesday, Chibuzo. Do you want the week to fly by? Hi, Edwin.
Hi, Tayo. How are you?
I'm good, good, good. Yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. Sorry, I'm a bit busy. I can't talk, but I can share how my experience has been. It's been good.
Yeah.
As you know, I've I've gone through a couple of interviews, still waiting.
Yeah,
So we're still in a limbo.
the waiting stage. I know.
Yeah, waiting stage, which is the hardest actually. I didn't know.
At least you know you can pat yourself on your back like you got to that stage. So you just keep applying, like you don't stop
Yeah.
until you've gotten that offer that you really, really like. I know people, even though they have like two offers, they're still applying and they still
Yeah.
get called. So they're
So we're
looking for
still applying.
yeah, that's good. That's good.
Still applying, yeah. Although I've also received a couple of regrets, which is normal.
That's fine. That's one of the things we'll be talking about today.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's
Yeah.
just because something didn't quite meet what we're looking for. It's not or anything like that. So just because maybe they were looking for something and your resume is lacking that something, and you just get that automated email.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Tazi. I think we'll start in like a minute. I just trying to see. Yeah, we'll start very soon. Hi, Tazi. How's your week been? Can you hear me? Okay. Oh, I thought I saw Jim on this call. It's probably dropped off. Okay, guys, I would just try and reach out and see. Otherwise, they'll have to join us. Have to meet us in the middle. Tazi, can you hear me? Okay. Looks like I'm talking to myself. Chibuzo, can you hear me? I don't know if
Loud and clear.
Oh, loud and clear. Okay, good. All right, guys. We're just going to start this session just because, yeah, it's 6 or 7. There's not plenty of time.
Hi, Tosin.
Hello, Chibuzo. Hope you're good.
Maybe.
Tayo, interesting fact. I just got to know that Chibuzo knows one of our products. She knows Bimbo from Lagos.
Really?
Yeah.
You scared me. I thought you were going to say you just got to know that Chibuzo is your cousin.
Oh, that'll be interesting too.
Interesting.
I was like, wait, what's this person about to say? Wow. Small world. Really, really small world. Okay, guys, we're just going to start now. Thank you guys for joining this session. Like I said, it'd be really, really great if you can turn on your camera just so we can, really collaborate. This is not like a teaching, it's more of, all of us trying to speak to some things that we may be doing in a wrong way and learn. Okay, so basically, like I said, today is really going to be about, it's in two parts. We're going to talk about like your resume, the message your resume is meant to be delivering. If there's no traction or no one is calling you, or you're not getting any emails, or even you're not getting, unfortunately, if you're getting like a lot of unfortunately, then the resume is not doing what it's meant to be doing. And the other part to this is we're also going to talk about your elevator pitch. The reason is that the beginning of your interview would determine the course of the whole session. So the way you approach the first question would sort of like guide your interviewer as to the next steps, right? Which is why we put it out there for you guys to please work on your elevator pitch, work on the first thing you want to be telling them, like they need to be like, wow, this person has done a lot. It has to be like catchy, not two-liners, or not something that they can't even really understand what you said. So it's really, really important. And when you have it, it becomes like your own little poem that you're reading every morning. So it is very important. Some of us will be reading out the elevator pitch in this session. I think the first to go would be Chazzy, just because he didn't respond when I called him. So you'll be the first person to go. Hopefully you have your speech ready. And yeah, so we'll be going through that. But before we get into, because of course we cannot agree that this is in stages, right? Before you get to the part where you need your pitch, there's something that needs to go first, which is your resume, which is what we want to talk about today. Now, your resume is very, very important. And I don't know if we're all familiar with the ATS. This is something that recruiters use these days, right? So, we can all agree that there's a lot of applications that they get, and it's not humanly possible to just physically read every single application that they receive, right? So they have a tool that helps them to filter you and our applications, ranks, filters, analyze it against the job description. Something is missing in your resume, rest assured you're going to be receiving that automated, unfortunately, blah, blah, blah. We appreciate your time, we'll keep you in the DB, all those things. So when you receive those automated ones, don't panic. It just means your resume still needs some work, right? So you need to, work on that resume, but it's really, really important to know the role that the tracking system plays. You may be the best person, but if your resume is not saying the right words, then you just get bounced. So you don't even have an opportunity to have a human reader or human like you to check your resume. So it's really, really important, right? The work of the ATS is huge, and we kind of need to beat the ATS. So there are some of us, I know probably this stage is not applicable, but because maybe you've gone to the next stage of your session, or you're in the second stage of interview, but there are some of us that were still like waiting for that big call. So it's really, really important to keep this in mind, that your resume may not be passing the ATS. Okay, what?
Applies to everybody. I mean, you don't do one job for life, right? So
That's true.
you need to apply to job, look for better opportunities. So whether you have gotten interviews or not, you need this information to be able to be more successful in your job search. So everybody must listen and try to understand it, because if you can beat the ATS, then you get opportunity to get more interviews.
Yeah.
So nobody is bigger than this.
Okay, all right, that's good to know that. So basically, this session has been, this is a conversation that all three of us we've analyzed it. So this is tested and trusted. We've also tried this ourselves, testing the concept to see, okay, how efficient is this thing? How much value can we get if I spend some time? But to be honest, it's very, very important that we all come to the realization that applying for jobs is also a job itself. So you need to put in the work. If you want to get, it's possible for you to get like 5 calls. It's absolutely possible. You know, I know Tosin can testify to that. I can also testify to that. Noah as well. We get calls and sometimes we're even like filtering them out based on the salary. If you like doing the interview, you just go like, well, we're looking at 180, 170, and they go, that's, you know, that's way above their budget. So there are some strategies I need to put in place, but it's a lot of work. So I need to put that out there. You may need to dedicate like 5 hours of your time just to work on your resume. It's not just to, if we say do 20 applications in a day, that's not to say to do lazy application. I know I did put in the chat the other day about what's your preference, quick apply or apply. The reason I said that is because sometimes your quick applies may just be stored in like Seek database, or it goes to like recruiters or something. In my opinion, I feel like when you direct it to the website of the advertiser, then you're really speaking to the organization themselves. And sometimes it's quicker. Most times you get like a very quick response rather than a recruiter bidding for you, and then it's like a third party kind of thing, which is why in this sort of situation, you know, it would be best if you prioritize applying on the advertiser's website over quick apply. I mean, you can just do quick apply, like maybe if you don't have enough time, right? But if you're doing the other one, you know for sure you are looking at the PD and tailoring your resume, not closely aligned to align with it. Of course, not copy and paste, but you want it to actually align. So please, it's a lot of work that you need to put, but the reward is there. It's a very small pool. You don't want to keep checking in resumes that don't have quality into the database. There's not going to be a result. So let's go into some of the things that we need to do to beat the, ATS. There are some things that we need, they sound very simple, right? They sound very easy, but they may be things that you feel like, oh, you'll be surprised. And they're just, simple things. I've seen resumes where some of us are putting nutritionist on a resume to apply for a business analyst job. Yes, I understand you've done that, but that is not applicable in any way, shape, or form. I've seen a resume where someone's putting customer care assistant or something like that, or irrelevant skills that you've acquired and because of your like irrelevant to business analyst. That's what I mean. I'm not saying like your experience is irrelevant, but like this particular role, business analyst, product owner, scrum master, they are not relevant. So if you have maybe like your first experience says business analyst, and the other one says teacher, and the third one says scrum master, the fourth one says customer care or disability support worker, for example, to the extreme. I've never seen that, but it's really important that we have the relevant skills. Everything has to be tailored towards business analysis. Nothing more, nothing less. You don't want, because what that does is when it's in screen, the HTS is confused, like, okay, what's happening here? This person, like, this is not relevant, this is not what we're looking for. So we get chopped out. So please, only relevant job experience should be on your resume. You have no business putting any other thing that you've done before. It has to be business analyst only, right? Your technical skills as well. This is very important. Again, all ties back to checking the position description. Now, in the course of our research, we find out that if the job is telling you if, for example, they are requesting for analytical skills that like are put in this place, they said strong analytical skills in position description. Yes, your resume does say analytical skills, right? It still won't match because it is incomplete. It's the same thing if they say, oh, they're looking for maybe management, and your resume says managed or managing, you still will be filtered out because the ATS does not recognize that. Remember, you're dealing with like an AI tool. It has to be the same or not. So there's no similarity. That's very, very important. So relevant technical skills. Again, it would depend on the job that you're applying for. If they're talking about requirement elicitation, they're talking about SDLC, they're talking about gap analysis, they're talking about those things. Your resume needs to be speaking to just particular skills. They're talking about soft skills, for example. Analytical skills is different from strong analytical skills. Problem solver is different from problem solving skills. They are different. In terms of meaning, they are the same, but in terms of the ATS, they are not. So it is very important that we're reading, you're taking time, you're not just saying, oh, work from home, oh, $180, 1,000 per annum, boom, click apply and move on. Most likely you'll be getting that, unfortunately. So it's very, very important that we're not just getting swayed by the text alone, but we're also focusing on, okay, what do they want? You read it, digest it. What exactly are they looking for? What does my resume currently say? Right? So you check it. I've talked about your previous job. Very, very important that you stick to the role that you're applying for. If it's a product owner role, product owner. If it's a scrum master, nothing like technical assistant or IT desk officer or service operator. No such thing. They're not relevant. There's a very important tool that I would like to talk about today, which is the job scan. I've sent it to some of us. Chibuzo, have you had some time to go to work on some of the corrections that the job scan gave to you?
Yeah, I've worked on a few.
What do you say?
Yes, I worked on a few, yes.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go. I will really show some of these things. So what jobscan.com does is it will analyze your resume. So it gives you an opportunity to put like your resume you like upload your resume, right? And then you can pretty much scan it against the job description. So this is what it looks like. I've signed in. And I'm going to do I'll do a demo very soon. But basically what jobscan.co does for you is it tells you the rating, it rates your resume against the position description. So for example, your resume against the JD, it would filter out some of the keywords to tell you what the job is looking for. And it would then tell you this is what your resume is saying against the job. So I'm going to use one of the resumes that you guys have sent to me, like a raw form of it. I have changed the name, so I do apologize if you recognize it. This is strictly for teaching purposes. I've changed the name, so again, I'm sorry. I didn't find any resume that I could use, but I've used that before and we've corrected it. So can I confirm that we're still with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. All right, so this is what we're going to do. So I'm going to search for, let's check this job on SIG. What are they looking for? It's a senior business analyst. Okay. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is, can we see how this job says senior business analyst? Something that the ATS does is, the title is very important in your resume. So if the resume just says business analyst, an experienced business analyst with over 6 years of experience, you may get filtered out because ATS is looking for a senior business analyst, which ties back to the fact that you kind of need to edit your resume, even just simple edit like this. So your current resume probably says technical business analyst, right? And this job that you love, it's 160, what are they looking for? They're looking for blah, 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 LEC, address gaps, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I want to change my current job title to senior business analyst, away from business analyst. So your title is also very important. You want to be doing everything to get your resume to the desk of an actual person. That's the focus. That's the first order that we need to cross. So you want to do that first, get your resume to the desk of an actual person, and you at least you get the chance to market yourself. But if we can't put all of these things into use, then there's no way we'll probably be getting those automated emails. So let's see what this job is looking for. It's a senior business analyst. They're looking for is someone that can elicit, blah, 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 or let's go. So what I'm going to do is I will copy this guys. I'll just copy it and bring it to job scan. I'll paste it there. Okay. Right, so this is my resume. I will just drag and drop this resume that I have ready for this session. Okay. So, all right, so I've got this. And I'm just going to do the scanning and let's see what we get with this particular one. I actually haven't done this. So I'm keen to see what the result is. Okay. So this is telling me that I'm 62%. My resume matches the job description. Please note that this particular job is really like quite basic in terms of what they're looking for. So it's really just like the basic things. I'm going to look for something that is a bit more, that has a lot more detail. But this particular one is saying 62, which is not too bad. And this is what ATS is telling me. It says they cannot find an address in my resume. Bear in mind that ATS does geographical filtering as well. If this particular role is looking for someone in that state, then they can't find where I'm living or where I'm at. So the chances of me getting, unfortunately, is very high. Okay, where are they? They're in Sydney. Okay, so according to the tool they're using, it's telling them, well, there's no address in my resume, so probably a give or take. The job title, it's telling me that the job title provided was not found in my resume. Remember, guys, if I go back to that particular resume, that resume just says business analyst. It says my education match. It says my section headings, my date formatting is okay. Now let's go to the
next one. So I was like, yeah, but you need to add just, yeah.
Okay, so if we go to the ask you, right? That particular job, I said they want someone that has proficiency in using Kanban, but mine doesn't have it. It may not be critical, it may be sprint planning, lacking. Soft skills, attention to detail, my resume doesn't have it. Written communication does have it. So there are other things, that my resume is lacking, but 62 is quite okay. But I still wouldn't apply for this job with this percentage because someone may come to this green area, and if they find someone in that green area, then I may not get called. Does that make sense? So it's very, very important that even simple things like the job title, your location, all those things, they're extremely important. And they're things that we need to be mindful of. So jobscan.com, we've shared it before in the job board. So please refer to it. I know some of you guys have other tools that you use, that's fine. But for the sake of this session, we're just talking about this particular one. Another thing that I wanted to touch on is, using critical words. If we go back to seek again, for example. So, of course, it's very important that you're not so obvious or like you're copying what they've written into your resume, no. But like, throwing critical words here and there, spreading it across your, I'm going to open another job now, spreading it across your resume would be really, really helpful. Take, for example, let's go to senior business analyst, this one. Okay, so analyze existing systems. All right, let's scan this job. So if for this job is saying customer requested analysis, they're looking for someone that is very detailed, 5 years of experience in software development, someone that can use Jira, someone that has analyzed existing system, strategic objectives, assisting with determining business priorities, things like this. It's very important that you kind of like spread it across your resume. So it's not obvious that you don't want it to be too obvious, but you also want to, like have your resume popping with the major thing, the major requirements of this job. So if we scan this particular one against that resume that I used previously, definitely we'll be getting a different result. If we do this. Okay, let's scan this. Sorry about the sound. Yeah, so this is picture one. So there's still not like, we need to get to the green, level. If we're not there, it's not, it's not working. So this particular resume, I should tell you, this was edited twice. The third one was the one that kind of like had the 90-something%. So this was the second trial of the owner of this resume. And that's why we're getting this. The last one was actually in the green zone. So it's really, really important. Okay, so I've said it does this, right? So, using those critical words at least 2 to 3 times. So your first experience, you spread it across. The second one, you spread it across. The third one, you kind of mix things around. So again, I've already talked about, please do not copy and paste. That's very obvious. Just mirror it, read it, throw in those important things. There are some words that you can't summarize them. If they're talking about ERP, for example, you can't summarize ERP, you need to put it there. If they're talking about, software development life cycle, you need to put it there. So very, very important. Again, for your soft skills, technical skills, use the exact words. It says strong analytical skills, your resume should read that. Problem solver, not problem solving. If it says problem solving skills, then really, really important. Again, this is also something that I wanted to touch today, graphics. Now, I understand that we all want our resume to look good. I mean, it should look decent, but you don't need designs, you don't need tables, you don't need colors flying up and down. You want to have a Word document properly formatted. You don't need over designing, there's no reason for that. Right? So if your resume, you nicely formatted it, things are where they need to be, your name on top, information is not, on the header, you're not writing things on the footer of your resume, then that's all we need. The information that is important. Is it readable? Yes. Is it well formatted? Yes. Are things aligned? Are your bullet points well aligned? Yes. That's really all we need. I don't need your resume like a yellow box or a yellow triangle. That's not needed, right? So please, you don't need to over design. Again, we all saw how that particular scan said they couldn't find the address, even though there was an address in that resume. So sometimes, we have to be very careful of the header and the footer, that we're not putting information on top of it, because if it's there, then ATS can't scan it. And if they're doing geographical filtering, then they probably don't know where you are. Do you understand? So very, very important. Also important that there's appropriate white space throughout the file. So, your double line spacing, just as applicable. All right, so to formatting, we need to, for the experience, make sure it's in reverse chronological, so from the newest to the oldest, right? So your most recent job down to like the job that you've done in the past. Again, tested and trusted. Please note that you can also submit your resume in a Word document. It doesn't have to be PDF all the time. In fact, most times that I've had to do job applications, I have submitted my resume in Word doc. It doesn't matter for the ATS, if it's well formatted, before it gets to the human reader, it's fine. So you can leave your resume in Word documents if you want to. You can make that choice. You can also leave it in PDF. You can also convert it to text if you want. So you have no business using other fonts. Please stick to Times New Romans, right? So let's stick to the standard font. 11 or 12 is fine. Depends on depends on like your resume. 11 or 12 in terms of like the font size, that's fine. I've talked about not over designing our resume, so please let's keep that in mind. You guys can see that when I did the scanning the other time, the job scan said title not found. So your targeted job title is what you need to use. So if the job that you're applying for says senior BA, senior BA. If it says technical business analyst, then you want to edit that to be reflected on your resume. You don't want to leave your resume that says 5 business analyst alone. So you want to, do that editing. Technical business analyst, senior business analyst, as applicable, you want to be editing your resume to really say that. Really, really important, guys. Another thing, I think someone sent us a message like a while ago, like last week, and they were talking about the length of their resume. Again, the ATS is not sensitive to your resume length. You can have 3. I keep it at 3 maximum, but you definitely can have 2 or 3. If you feel like your resume has not been doing the work it needs to be doing, and you're tired, basically, of just applying and not getting a result, and you feel like you want to include some information and you don't want to drop some information, it's okay. You can have 2 to 3. There's no problem with that. Once your resume beats the ATS and it actually gets the human reader, they have more confidence because they consider you as someone that has been filtered out and that's been selected out of all, God knows how many people they filtered. So that wouldn't be a problem. They'll convert it to PDF themselves. It wouldn't matter. So again, remember, you want to get called, you want to be able to sell yourself. It's really, really important. So your resume length 2 to 3 is okay. That wouldn't be a problem. Okay, so again, there's no one size fits all for resume. You will always be required to do some editing. Yeah, you'll always be required to do some modifying. It's very important. Again, the quality of your resume, which is why we need to spend time reading that position description. What is it saying and what is my resume saying? Are they speaking the same language? If they're not, then you need to fix it, which is where the old job comes, which is why people say, oh, applying for a job itself is a job. Highly important thing. Does anyone have any questions? Sorry, sometimes I talk too fast, so any questions so far?
So basically, I'm sorry. So basically, like, is job scan? Is there an app that we could have on our system, or do we have to just go through the website every time and just reapply all this?
I don't know if they've got an app, like a mobile app that you can download. I just use them on my computer anyway. You can't do it on your phone. You need to like be on your system. Is that sort of like what you're asking, okay?
Yeah. Because sometimes at work, when you're just on break and you just, want to fire out more CV, just look at it and
That's
don't.
the thing. Just fire up cannot work. That won't really work because you're not spending time. Your break is probably max half an hour or 45 minutes, right? So you won't have that time. I mean, you can do some lazy applies with some of you, because you find out that by the time you measure your resume against like 6 jobs, it will be rating really high, and you don't have to do this all the time. Does that make sense? So by the time you've like,
Yeah, it makes sense.
yeah, so you won't really have to do it all the time. You find out, oh, this job is very similar to the previous that I applied, and you find, okay, this actually can fly. I can do it. It's just that initial phase where you kind of like, oh, I'm not getting results. I need to really, really find out what the problem is. Why am I just getting that automated, unfortunately, email? Because those emails are automated. It's just a system sending it to you because they've done the filtering and you don't match. Not necessarily because you can't do the job, just because you don't match. So if you want to do that kind of stuff, you would have done the back work at home and you have a good resume. And when you're, for example, on your break, you've seen a job that you like and you've checked your resume and like, nah, they do not fit. Save the job. When you get home, let that be your first priority. Because really, there's no point rushing when you know your chances of getting results is really, really slim. So yeah, so I'll be really, really, I'll be mindful of just throwing an application like that. I'll treat application as a critical thing that I need to, sit down, be relaxed, think about what I'm doing, make sure it works. Even the same thing goes to your cover letter as well. If you really want to like show them that you're interested in their job, the truth is recruiters can tell if you've just like thrown in the application or if you've actually sat down to read what they're requesting for. It's very obvious in your cover letter. They can tell that I was just throwing in cover letters for all the jobs available. So that is very important. Okay, any questions before we go into the other part?
Sorry, I hope we all understand the magnitude of this. Like, I know Tayo is using like calm voice,
Oh,
but
okay.
but seriously, this is a lot of information. I know if you watch it, you'll be able to get more. But if you apply this strategy, you get more, even more success in terms of calls for interviews and all of that. When you get calls for interview, second stage that we're going to be talking about would then position you to a point where you can land that job. I know some of you are doing you're doing a great job already and you're getting interviews, but even to maximize that chance, you need to still do this. At the end of the day, once you see a job you applied and they've sent you, unfortunately, something, we found other candidate, that is simply ATS replying to you. That is the template. And if you've done enough application, you will know that, oh, there's a pattern. This is because think about it. How many people would naturally apply to a job, right? At least minimum, depends on the type of job, but minimum 50 people would apply. And we also recruit. I've gotten to a point where I can't review, even if you're a recruiter, you can't review 50 CVs manually for one specific role. You simply not do that because it's time consuming and not efficient. So that's where ATS comes in. They use a system, right? And now if a system would scan through your application, your CV, what better way than for you to make sure that ATS is positioning you for greatness? You find out that if you're doing lazy apply, like those quick apply, you can get calls from recruiters, like talent recruiters, agency, and all of that. That is also fine. But if you really want to maximize your chance of landing a job quickly, if you dedicate hours to applying. You want to apply to 4 jobs, and you apply to 4 quality jobs using this strategy, making sure that your CV ranks high. If your CV is ranking high, like 80%, even 70%, trust me, you are better than 70% of people that will apply to that job. So you're likely going to be like the top 30%, right? That will be sent to the recruiter. And they will not be more than 5 to 10. They also don't want to interview 10 people to make a decision. It's a no-brainer. So you might be likely, part of the top 5 or top 6 candidate they will interview. So it's really important that you put your feet on the ground and position yourself. It's also about games of number. So it's about being strategic. If you see a job that says apply in the company, it's more important for you to go there, make sure your ATS check is ranking high. If you see quick apply where it's not taking you anywhere on Seek, know that you're trying your luck. Essentially, that's what it is. Because it's easy for 100, 200 people to click that same thing, add their resume and move on. So more people will apply to those jobs. So it's easy for everybody. We just click it when we are watching movie and we say we have applied. Yes, you have applied, but then your chances of being successful is what? It's like 1%. It's like 1% really, for the reasons I've said. If 200 people click that quick apply, not you will be very lucky for recruiter to find your CV. If you're directed to the company's website to apply, know that this is an opportunity because again, many people are lazy. Once they get redirected, they don't apply to those jobs. So first, like you've already, and I'm telling you based on experience, I've also applied to lots of jobs. I've seen different strategies. I've done the type of quickly, let us click it when we're drinking coffee or talking or watching movie. I'm applying passively, actively, etc. When you analyze the results, you see that, well, the ones you did quickly, you get the rejection quickly. That's the way. It can come 1 month, but then you see it just follows you when you are cooking, when you're in the toilet, when you are pressing your phone, you get it. The job has now closed. This and rejection. Well, unfortunately, that's what will be following you. If you do those quick apply, right? But then if you sit down and say, okay, even if I'm gonna do quick apply, my ATS. So if you've done this ATS a couple of times, right? As Lara said, and you've done it for like 6, 7, 10 jobs, you have one CV that is fairly robust. You can now say, okay, when I'm a bit tired and I'm just, we just all have that moment. I just want to apply passively. I would use that robust resume and quick apply and see what comes out. But when I dedicate that 4 hours, I want to apply to jobs, right? I'm sitting down checking against ATS using this job scanner thing, and at least you get results. And the good thing is, maybe Tayo can speak to that. We can share our login with you, Tayo's login or something. I don't know, but I think we should be able to share the login so they can use it and do the scanning and all of that. And trust me, if you invest, 1 month doing this, you will get. I have somebody that got 5 interview calls random, like after adopting all this approach. Yeah. So we're not telling you something that does not work, and that's why we've come here to share. So this is not a lecture. It's about exposing you to better strategy to get better outcomes. So do this, good outcomes. Some of you have gotten good outcomes. It's not enough. Right? Some of you have done 1, 2, 3, and that's why we're waiting. But if you have many options, you will be doing chakra, like when they, at the time an HR call you back, you are either telling them, oh, I moved on, or like, how much are you trying to offer me, and all of that, as your bargaining chip, because you've gotten other offers. So, but you need to know that when they say finding a job is a job itself, it is not just a message. We actually put in the work. And the good thing is that when you put in the work, you get that job, you take a break and focus on next thing, on doing the job. You might not apply for years. You might apply for another job. You do it under less pressure when you're just looking for other opportunity. Right? But for this first one, you have to really, really invest your time. And also, maybe at the end, I'll quickly show you where you can use ChatGPT to just like also quickly paraphrase, match words, just so that the keywords and everything you need for a particular job, you're representing it well. And because you are modifying your CV constantly, you're not falling into that trap of typos and grammatical errors and all of those things that can also plague your CV. So I know some of you do that, but yeah, sometimes it can look very robotic, get a robotic response. So we need to really prompt, tools like ChatGPT bad well, so that they are giving you good outcomes. And then you can just do that. All right, thank you.
Thanks, Noah. So guys, it's very, very important. Another thing I wanted to mention is, so when you're listing like your, responsibilities, what you've done in your previous job, please stick to one tense. So if you're going to be like your tenses, for example, if you're going to go present continuous, yes. If you're going past tense, yes. Not provided data-driven insights, number one, and then the next thing, conduct thorough analysis of business operations. So please, let's be mindful of these things. Again, it's not a human. You don't have a human reader at the first stage. You have all this, tools scanning and filtering your resume. It's really, really important that you're reflecting and, you're like composing your words well. Also, the years of experience, if you claim 6 years, make sure that the year that you've written in front of your your experience, when you sum it up, it's actually 6 years as well. So sometimes you can make mistakes. Then you've written May 2018 to April 2021, and then your next job you've now put March 2021. So we need to be mindful of simple things like that. So when they're trying to calculate the years of experience that is required for that job, at least when they're filtering out resumes, we would be beating that, and will be part of the resumes that qualifies for, okay, number of years, 6 years, okay, check. Number of years, 7, check. There's no point wasting your time if it says 10 years and your resume says 4. It's not a good use of time. So very, very important, guys. Please, you can rewatch this video, or you can reach out if you've got any questions. You can resend your resume. My theory is, if you've applied and 2 to 3, 4 weeks, there's no phone call, then something is really, really wrong with that resume. Like if you put in an application 1st of October, at least by the 15th, by the 16th, someone should be calling you. Someone should be reaching out to you, saying, I found your resume, we think I would like to have a chat with you, blah, blah, blah. If you're not getting that for 30 days, then the resume is not doing its job, which is something that, we can revisit by then. But we're confident that if you put in some of these strategies, it should be a different case. All right, so we're going to be moving to the next stage. Okay, now you've done all these really good things, right? You've now gotten this call. I've told you, I chose seen your resume, you know, can you tell us some of the things you've done? Would like to have a chat with you tomorrow. Are you free? Sometimes some of you will say, I'm not free tomorrow. Please don't tell a recruiter that. You need to, if you want something, you need to go for it quickly. Remember, you're not the only person and they don't have time. So if Taya says she's not free on Wednesday, they go to Tosin. Tosin goes there. Tosin is really, really good. And, you know, Tosin has wowed them. They're really happy. Now, good luck trying to then match up to maybe someone that is like, that is someone that you could have had a chance, you could have been the first person to actually, you know, sway them and like really show a lot of value. So it's always good that if they want you to be ready tomorrow, 3 o'clock, yes, I'm ready. There's no, oh, can we do next week? Or, you know, we have a second stage. Do you have any holidays planned? Even if you do, tell them no. No, I don't. Not at the moment. I just come back from one. When you get the job and you go on holiday, no one's going to say, oh, sorry, blah, blah, blah. There's no policy in Australia that allows that. So it's very important. So there are some questions that you just need to tick yes, 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 even if it's not convenient, because you want to really beat time and you want to like, okay, yes, I'm ready. I can talk to you right now. You know, oh, do you have half an hour for a chat? Yes, I do, except you're driving or you're in a very awkward position and you're unable to talk, then yes. But like if you can talk, that's why you should always be ready. Which is why we said, please get this pitch ready, your elevator pitch, your this, your that, get them ready. So when they call you, you're like fired up. You're not like thinking, you've written this resume, you should be used to it. If they're telling you, so can you talk to me about your previous experience in that first initial phone call? You're killing it. Can you attend an interview tomorrow? Yes, thank you, I can. What time works? This one, that one. You know, you need to show that enthusiasm, that passion, like that, yes, I'm, you know, really ready for this. So if they're asking you some little questions, do you have any holidays planned? No, at the moment. Can you attend an interview tomorrow? Yes, thank you, I can. You know, when can you start the job? Okay, maybe 1 or 2 weeks. If you want me, I tell them immediately. You know, things like that, because all these things are data, right? They gather them and then they speak to someone else, and then there's someone who's probably ready, right? And you know, they'll go for that other person, or maybe you said, oh, you have holidays planned for the whole of December. They're thinking, oh, the project needs to be, we kind of need someone who can work during that period. Oh, we love you, but you know, goodbye, God bless. We can't proceed because you're not available. They won't tell you that, of course, but there are simple factors, you know, that comes to play as well when it comes to recruitment that we wanted to bring your attention to. So how many of us how many of us have had time to really work on the elevator pitch? Let me see. You can use your virtual hands. Thumbs up if it's a yes, thumbs down if it's a no. Or can we just unmute our microphones?
What thumb is for maybe?
Yeah, none. It's either yes or no.
Thank you, Jim. Thank you.
Ah.
You're either a yes or a no. Thank
Let
you.
me chip in here, please. Please, guys, we want you to start to use a system where your best place to be successful. Now, if I come to you and say, tell me about yourself or your experience, or share, you know, why do you want this job and all of that, you would have a moment to reflect, oh, how do I approach this and that? What we are simply saying is that be prepared upfront. There's no reason why, if you're applying for jobs and of course you know that you're waiting for interviews, you don't want to be, oh, the night of the interview, you're now having sleepless night, oh, I need to now prepare, I will not sleep and all of that, stay fresh for the interview. Every process to land a job is very important. We are saying have your pre-made answers for all the questions that are, of course, that you know are generic, are almost a must when you go for these interviews. prepare your answer, share it with us. Let's review with you so that we can make it better. And then what you need to do is just go and rehearse it. If you're going for 5, 6, 7 interviews, you're not thinking about some of these questions anymore because you've rehearsed them, you know how to answer. The nerves will not kick in too much. Once you say one word, you're settled in because you know that this is what I'm going to share. They say, tell me about yourself and experience. This is my pre-made answer. I know it. I'm going to just say it naturally, right? And that's why it's important. It's not a negotiable thing, or maybe I need to have or not. Because when you say maybe, it means you're saying I'm not prepared for the interview. And you agree. Some of you that have done interview, especially with your level of experience now,
You need that structure.
you need structure. You can't, there are some things they will ask you on the spot. You might be put off, you might need some moment. And once you're pausing awkwardly, then that does not instill confidence. So we share materials. Please, they are important materials for you to have a look. But this pre-made, I don't know if it's elevator pitch we want to call it, but question and answer kind of thing, elevator pitch or
That's what I like
interview
to call
prep.
it, because I call it that because it just changes the course of everything. It's literal. It elevates you because you're ready.
Yeah. So, but what I'm saying ultimately is that for every single question, so some of you have gone for interview and you see a pattern. If you listen to each other's interview, for the people that are kind enough to record and are able to, to share that. I mean, if you watch, because for example, I have shared that sample recording to some of you, and you can take 1 or 2 lessons, and I sent that someone's interview, Jim to be precise, to somebody, and they're like, wow, this gave me perspective. And I've shared a couple of people that are not even part of us here, and they were like, wow, this is really good. It opened my eyes and all of that. So again, we should collaborate with each other, but you see a commonality, like common questions always surface. There are some questions you can't just miss. They will always kind of like ask it, but maybe in different twist, shape, and form. But if you have your pre-made answer, you will just be tweaking those. Okay, this is how I would approach this question typically. But if you have to think on the spot every time, because you've not internalized all these things a lot. Like if you've been doing this for years, then they ask you, I'm sure what you do currently, if you're going for another interview, you might not even need to prepare. You just go and bounce and dust it. That's fine. But in this one that you don't have so much experience yet, we don't want to be pushing you or micromanaging. When we give you something, it's for the best. Do it. You need to do it once and just be refining it and be rehearsing it. You might not have gotten that interview now, but that interview is coming. Trust me. When you get that interview, you don't now want, this is when I want to prep. Prepare like you have an interview every single day, so that you just need one interview. When you get it, you are giving 110%, and you just get that job and move on.
Also, even to speak to that, your interview starts right from that first phone call. If a recruiter calls you, or even if the organization calls you, their talent person calls you, and they're like, "Oh, I'm tired, this and that," and you're sounding like someone that doesn't know what's on their resume. They'll just tell you, they're very decent. They'll tell you, "Thank you so much for your time. We'll get back to you." They may not call you back
They
because
will
you're
not
not ready.
call you back. It's not the me.
They won't call you back because you're not ready. So you need to understand that your interview starts from when you hear, "Hi, my name is XYZ, I'm calling from Virgin Australia." That is when your interview starts. So once you hear that straight up, you move into interview mode and you're about to wow this person. So because even you're not the only person they'll call. They'll call maybe 3 people. They can remember, "Oh, I spoke with this person. She was like really spot on. It was very spot on. It was speaking to all the things that we need. I think that I would really love to speak to this person." So they're looking forward to talking to you, but they talk to you and you're stuttering or you're not prepared, then there's already a problem. Even if you make it to the interview stage, they're not very confident that you can, pull through. Automatically, it's like, sorry, we can't go through. So it is important that you have your pitch, you have it ready, you read it every day. Like Noah said, just because you're new to all of these things, you need that extra layer of preparation to sound convincing. Some of us like this, I hope we know what we have on our resume, like the job title, the year. And some people may say, so how many years did you spend in this XYZ organization? If you don't, please go back to your resume. Again, there's also one thing that I wanted to touch on. When you start working, when you get this job, someone in the workplace can go, oh, so Jim, what are the projects that you've worked on? Where have you worked? Just a simple conversation. And if you don't know, I mean, I hope none of us would be in that situation. But again, know your resume. Know what you have there. Know it, like they wake you up like this. What is on your resume? You know it. Very important. Past your interview, when you start working, someone in the workplace, it happens. I mean, we've all seen it. Even like any job, they're interested in what you've done previously. Oh, so where have you worked before? What sort of initiatives have you worked on? So it is important. When you have your pitch, something that you read every day, you have it in your Word doc or your PDF, XYZ, you're now tailoring it to the position description every time someone calls you. You can move things around, you can edit things, you can modify, but at least on a high level, you know exactly what you want to talk about. So I'm going to be going through some structure that I think your elevator pitch should have. If it has it already, sweet. If it doesn't, please modify, rewatch this video and modify it. So it's very important. There are some must-haves that your elevator pitch rather should have. And we're going to go through, I think, about 8 of them. So when they say first speech or first session, thank you, Noah, for coming to this session. We're working on XYZ project. So I will just dive into it. Tell us what interests you in this role. Why have you applied for this role? Some of them even say something like, oh, so what have you been up to? Let's give us an insight into what you've been doing. Some of them may say, so what do you enjoy doing as a BA? What do you love most about being a BA? All those questions, remember, you need to take it back to your elevator pitch. No matter what it is, even you can answer in one line, but you still don't just tell them, oh, I love being a BA because I'm able to add value to an organization, and yeah, that's really why I love being a business analyst. No one cares about that. Some of them will go different route. It's not every interview they would go, tell me about yourself. Sorry, tell us about yourself, like, whatever, let's meet you, something like that. Not all interviews will go that route. Some of them you can just ask you some of these questions. But some of them will say, so what are your hobbies? Like, what do you love doing? It is your duty to bring them back to who you are, because there's a reason you've been called to that session. So you want to be telling them who you are, what you've done, and you can add value to them, to their organization. Very, very important. So your years of experience, when you're speaking to a recruiter, you want to start proper. The truth is, the first question will determine the next questions they will ask you. It depends on how well you kill them with your first pitch. I've done an interview where after the elevator pitch, the person said I'd answered 4 of their questions. So they just went to number 5 question. So it's very important, saves everybody time, saves me time to do plenty talking. So you want to make sure that elevator pitch contains vital information. Your years of experience, your soft skills, your technical skills, the sort of projects that you've worked on, the domain that you've worked in, how you intend to add value to their organization, the things that you intend to do in form of adding value, showing interest in their project. Again, there's no point going to an interview when you don't even know about the PD, you don't know what type of project they're working on. You can't speak to the project that they're working on. So again, you want your elevator pitch to contain these things. The first one is your years of experience. There's something that is also very important that shows confidence. Calling them by their name. If you remember their names, fine. If you don't, please don't call them someone else's name. You can see their name in the chat. Thank you, Jim. Thank you, Tosin. And then you go into it. You go into your work. I've put like an example here of how you can start. It's not just I have 6 years of experience. No, how when you go for IELTS knows that you probably understand English, but they want to see how you can move around words, how you can play with words. IELTS will be asking you, describe the type of house that you live in. You can simply say, well, I live in a 3-bedroom house. We both know that that's going to get you probably a 5 or a 4. They want you to go into details. You want to talk about your house. You can describe it in different ways before you even get into the number of bedrooms in that house. Very important. You're talking to your interviewers, you're telling them, I've been a business analyst for XYZ years. You understand? You're giving them a story. You want it, like, you see the expression, like they're listening to you because they're interested in what you're talking about. You're playing with words. You're playing with buzzwords here and there. Then you want to move to the domains you've worked in, right? You want to tell them, I've worked in finance, I've worked in education, I've worked in aviation, I've worked in XYZ, in health sector. You want to let them know you're telling a story. It's a progression. You're moving downwards. Then you also want to tell them, in the course of your career, you've worked on different projects. Transformation project, transformation projects, process improvement, ERP, CRM. You see them nodding like, oh wow, this person is technical. You want to talk about, I've worked on system migration, data migration. You want to include those things that, okay, there will be no doubt that, okay, what has this person done? The first one, your years of experience. Secondly, you want to touch on the industry and the domains that you've worked. If you want to move to the types, the category of project initiatives that you've delivered in the course of your career. It's very, very important that your pitch is structured, is solid, it's of high quality. So you give them from those things that you said, they will generate their next question from you. They either skip some of their questions or be like, yeah, we're happy, and they may move to telling you about the project because you're really giving a lot of information. Remember, you're in that interview so they can meet you, so they can know what you've done, who you are, how you can add value to them, to the organization, how you can add value to the project that they're working on. So if you can't display that, then they go deep into their questions, drilling you because you've not given them enough information to work with, right? So highly important. We've put this as must-haves because we think they're very important. Then you want to give them a little bit of teaser. Remember, now we've talked about the years of experience. We've talked about the domains that you've worked in the industry. You've also talked about the category of projects that you've worked on. Now you want to give them a teaser on the, just a little bit on the project that you've worked on. Oh, speaking of the process improvement that I worked on, I recall working with this organization where I did this, where I did that. It's nice and short. So they say, oh, they have a little bit of an idea. Of course, you go into more details, but it's your first introduction. You don't want to bore them. Just a bit. You do that. Then you move on to marketing your core BA competencies, your skills. So these ones you can flesh it out, in your time. If your current pitch doesn't have some of these things, you can include them. You do it over time, it becomes a part of you. You remember it like you're reading a story. You want to talk about your core BA skills. You want to talk about how you identify business. You want to talk about the techniques you use, how you use SWOT analysis, how you use gap analysis, how you review existing documents, how you elicit requirements. You want to give them a little bit of an idea of some of your core competencies. You're speaking to it like, okay, yes, you know what you do as a BA. Do you understand? You want to tell them how you then do those things. What are your core BA skills that you use in getting to their future states? Afterwards, you want to then move to another project that you've worked on. Again, there's something about talking to interviewers like you're directing it to them, like you're talking to them like, yes, I know what I'm saying. Even it helps with the nerves. They see a confident person, and I know some of you guys do this already, but I just thought it's important that we nail it. If they've talked to you about, so you at the first stage they tell you a little bit about the project that they're working on, you can take notes. Okay, this is what this person has said. I actually have a project that I've written that speaks to it. You call their attention. If I want to call your attention to something, I can say, oh, well, I know, Jim, and I know this would really interest you because you've talked about it before, but Chibuzo, this may catch your attention. You draw them back to the room again. You want to sound like an interesting person when you're talking to them. Interview, because the truth is lots of people will come for an interview, only few people will leave an impression, and you want to be that person that leaves an impression. You talk about another project that you've worked on. You can say something like, oh, and no, I know you mentioned this previously. I know this particular thing, may catch your attention. I've worked on this, I delivered this. So you make them know that you're actually listening to what they're telling you. Again, speaks to your attention to details, your active listening skills. So you want to display. An interview is not just a one way. You want to make it very interactive. Beyond your technical skills, trust me, they want to see personality. They want to see you. They want to see someone that shines, someone with that big energy. You get some comment, they'll be like, oh, they really loved your energy. They really loved your passion. So when you're talking, Alana, I know you mentioned this previously. I just wanted to quickly speak to that particular thing that you mentioned. It shows them that you listen to what they're saying. So it's very, very important that you tackle interviews like this is, like it is like my life. I really want to wow these people. See the progression, like how you've moved from your years of experience to the domains that you've worked, to the type of project that you've worked on, right? And then moving to telling them a little bit about one of the projects, and then selling your core BA skills, and then back to one project. Like we always say, have at least 2 to 3 projects that you can speak to, and make sure they're not all in the same domain, because they can be like, okay, so how would you tackle something in this particular domain? At least 2 or 3 in different domains, so you can really, really kill them, literally, like kill them. Does anyone have any question? Are we still here?
Yep, we follow.
Yeah,
Okay.
preparing to kill them.
Yes, please. Let's go.
Yes, so not literally, but yes.
Yeah, let's get more than that. So it's very important, and you'll be able to read your room, like, because if you're nice and clear, if you have structure, they know, they can see through you. Not the one like, I can't even really understand what you're saying, for goodness sakes. Then they have to go through the process, then ask you for that question, like, okay, can I get more on this? Can I get more on this? So you've given them, teaser about some of the project that you've worked on. You've sold your core BA skills. Then you talk about your professional growth. Time to talk about some of the certifications that you've acquired in the course of your journey. Again, it's not just, I have certificate. I have professional PSP, I have CBAP, or I have this and that. You want to tie it back to the reason. It's for your professional growth. again, it's when you're talking, and you know, some people are like born public speakers, some are not. So you kind of need to build it. If you want to get people's attention, don't just go straight to the point. Give them an idea of the next point that you want to make. You know, speaking of improving my skills, speaking to some of the things or measures that I've taken in, you know, in growing professionally, I have also taken XYZ certification. So that way, by the time you start with regarding this, they're like, oh, okay, what's she about to say? You're not losing them in the room. It's very, very important. Then you go ahead to then sell your soft skills. Of course, you've read the position description, you've read what they want. So again, there are you know, basic things that you know that okay, yes, you need it, but maybe there are some things that they've included in their position description. You're speaking to it as well. You know, I should also bring your attention to the fact that I've been able to do XYZ due to my collaborative, due to my creative thinking, due to my collaboration skills, due to my team spirit. You're bringing them, you're not just saying, oh, I also have, you know, good communication skills. No, you're talking like a native speaker, like you're not just talking, you're really communicating. There's a difference between just talking and communicating to people. Like you're not just, let's just talk. You're actually passing the message. You want them to listen to you properly. And you tell them how your soft skills has also helped in your product delivery in the course of your career. Again, you're trying to interview is all about marketing yourself. If you want to convince people to hire you. And why you mean, in fact, you should, I don't know if you guys have been in this situation before, but there are people that actually get the job 80% because of their soft skills, you know, their personality, and 50 because of okay, let me raise them on 100, but like maybe 60 for like the soft skills and then 40 for like the technical skills, and maybe 50-50 in some cases. Because again, sometimes they want to see how you can interact with people, how you can communicate. So you need to display that during your interview. You know, past your soft skills, you also then want to tell them some of the tools that you've used in the course of your career. You nail it back. You tell them, well, you don't just list them. You know, you tell them what you use Jira for your task management. Tell them what you use Visio for process mapping, Draw.io, your Lucid Chat. You tell them all these things and you relate it back to the project, ties back to what they want to work on, or ties back to some of the things that you have worked on in the past. Again, in your soft skills, very, very important. You're talking about if it's a, for example, if it's like if you know that this solution is customer facing, or you know, it's a user-centered solution, you're also highlighting some of your skills, like your interpersonal skills. You're telling them that, you know, you have empathy. Your empathy is what has really helped you. You know, we can say something like, you know, when in the course of my career, you know, when building user-centric solutions, or, you know, customer-centered or customer-facing solutions, I have found that my, you know, empathy has really helped me to understand the users or the stakeholders involved, and you've been able to build what really speak to their needs rather. So it's really, really important that you read the position description properly and you come up with a pitch nicely. Remember, you already have a pitch. All you need to do is just modify it as per the jobs that you're going for. In fact, if they don't ask you them about yourself, you need to find a way and throw it inside and tell them, because you've not done this pitch for nothing. And trust me, to interest them, nobody will tell you to stop talking. But you can't produce what you don't have. Again, please, you need to work on your pitch. You need to structure it nicely. Look at your resume, structure your pitch nicely. Tailor it back to what they're requesting for. Again, no, there's no one size fits all for everything, but at least with your pitch, it can be similar. You can just throw things here and there. You also want to then display to them that, oh, I'm actually interested in this role. I've read what you guys want. I have a very good understanding of what it is. You also want to tell them how you intend to add value to their product. Now, and before you even say that, you bring their attention to it. You can say something like, you know, yeah, so you've now talked about all these things, blah, blah, blah. I'd like to also key you into how I intend to add value to this project, or how I intend to support the implementation of this project. You're displaying that, oh, I've also done my research based on my previous experience. These are the things that I think I can bring, or these are the things that I think I can add. Based on my sources that I've mentioned, this is how it ties back to your organization, to the initiative that you're working on, anything that you're doing. This is how it ties to it. There's moving parts in this pitch that then everything ties back. So please, guys, it's extremely important. Again, you want to work on other questions. Today we're just focusing on the elevator pitch, and then you can sort of like structure your other things. You want to, if they ask you, what are your strengths? You have like a pre-made pitch that you've done, you know, that you've written. They ask you, what are those other questions? They ask you, what interests you about this company, or what interests you about the role of a business analyst? I think there are some questions that I posted in the job board that I said, oh, we should all work on about. I think I said some of them, just trying to look at. How do you deal with difficult stakeholders? Those sort of questions, they may not ask you directly, but they may ask it in one way or the other. But at least you've prepared, you know the route to go, you know how to word it. You're not looking for stories, you're not looking for situations in your head, because you've worked on it, you've written it. When you work on something yourself, even if you're unable to remember 100%, you will still remember bits and bits that you can put together and make a complete sentence. Are we all following? Does this make sense to us? Like, do we understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
Because, you know, there's one thing to get the job, but there's also one thing to show that you can do the job when they call you, which is why we're asking that you please be ready at every point. You have to be ready. And part of your readiness is having your pitch ready. So you've worked on questions such as, how do you deal with difficult stakeholders? You know, what are your strengths, for example? What are some of your biggest accomplishments? How do you manage changing requirements? You have your questions, you have your own things that you use that comes natural to you. Basically, it's like it's natural, it's your own stuff. No one can, you know, take it away from you. You have a very good knowledge of it. So it's very, very important. Very important. Does anyone have any questions? Any questions, any additional ads, anything that anyone wants to add in the room? Guys, no response.
No question from me. No question from me.
Yeah, thanks. Thank you. Okay. Edwin, is this something that we think is achievable? Have you worked on your pitch?
I'm still working on it. Time.
Yeah. So please, guys, it's really, really important. We want to have submissions of this pitch from tomorrow. Ade, I know you missed some part of the session, so please rewatch the video regarding resume and, you know, what your resume needs to look like and how you can beat the ATS for your resume.
Oh, no worries.
Yeah.
Can I just add that so this is not just for your tell me about yourself or experience. You need to do it for some of the
That's what I said.
please at least the top 15 questions that you find, you know, how do you manage stakeholders? What's your project experience? Requirement? How do you your methodology, you know, agile versus waterfall? How would you respond to those kind of you know, questions? How do you manage conflict within your team? How do you help the team become, the position for success, right? Things like that. And there are some very theoretical questions that you can simply just twist and twist the answer.
Yeah. I should also have that there's a popular thing going on. If you spot discovery phase in the position description, it's very important that is also something I think I'll put that in the job board that you guys should work on. How would you support a project that is in the discovery phase? What are the things that you would do as a business analyst to support project in the discovery phase? I think I would include that question in the job, but because I think that's been like popular. I think someone had that question as well. Isn't it? No, I think, yeah, someone had that question at some point. So
Product discovery. So how do you help the team during product discovery? Or what is product discovery? You need to understand it, the whole process of, need assessment, understanding, okay, what's this product about? What are we trying to do? What's the objective? And then, through to the idea generation. So how do we solve this problem, or how do we meet this objective? So you work with your team to generate ideas, and then the next thing for you is to validate those ideas. So which one are actually feasible? Which one can we do? Which one makes sense? Then we prioritize them, right? And then we start to go into implementation, planning for it, then then working on those ideas. But discovery phase is about, okay, understanding the objective and what on a particular topic, or what they are trying to achieve, and trying to find solutions or ideas for that. So you can read more on that, but it's like a recurring question. I've had a few people talk about, at least mention this, like as part of the interview question. So just because I'm not sure we went into that in the class, but of course we can't teach everything in class, as you know. There are some things that you just need to expand on. Yeah, so please, you need to try and set aside time to really work on these things. You don't want to get in the interview and you're like, oh, I'm not sure. But yeah, I think if you prepare answer for at least the top 15 questions, then most of your interview, all those questions will just be a variation of those questions. You can get odd one out here and there, but it would really just revolve around that. And if you're prepared for 15 questions, there's likelihood they ask you 3 to 4, and you can answer that, without thinking too much. You already have that planned already. So then any other one, you're not thinking on your feet, and you're better for it. But if you have to think on your feet for everything, well, it would get better with experience. As you do more interviews and work and gain experience, we get better. But at this stage, you need your prepared question and answer, and it needs to be something you practice, with your wife or your husband, your children. Just practice it. Be prepared. Even if you've not gotten the interview, be prepared, because you get the interview. It's a must. You get the interview, and what do you do with the interview when you get it? That is the question. Yeah.
thank you. Very important. And lastly for tonight, please just work on those questions that we said. We just also wanted to quickly touch on, the last questions. Again, you want them to remember you, you want to leave an impression. So prepare, I mean, these are just sample questions, but feel free to go in there with your own questions, prepare at least two to three questions. Sometimes maybe you're a fast talker and you guys are really like you big time, right? They may have plenty of time to take your questions. And so, have you got any questions for us? You ask them one and they go, have you got any other one? You don't want to go, well, I feel like if you have the opportunity to ask like 2 to 3 questions, you're showing like, critical thinking. Now you can like think deeply about them, the project, how much of interest you also have. So you want to have at least 3 questions just in case you guys are big time and the process has gone very smoothly. They're happy with the answers you've provided, and they really didn't have to like dilly-dally in terms of the questions. So these are some of the questions that we have actually talked about in an interview as well. So feel free to use some of them, ask them, what are the biggest challenges that the organization is currently facing. Again, name calling, what do you love most about working with this organization? Very more personal, how will my performance be measured in this role? You're really showing them that, or you're thinking high about how to add value and how you can, once you think about the performance metrics, exactly, what is expected of you, right? You also showing interest in the work culture, the work environment. You also want to show them that beyond the fact that you guys have to select me or choose me, I also kind of need to make that decision to see what the culture fit is for me. Like, is this an environment that I can, really thrive? Can I grow here? Is this, is this environment healthy, basically? So you then want to, move into asking them what they think success would look like for the successful business analyst or product owner or scrum master, so they can give you a little bit. Yeah, when you talk about the biggest challenges that the organization is facing, then you can at least you can take points from there and gives you a bit of a head start as to, okay, maybe these are some of the things that I need to be mindful of. This is how I need to really approach things, and this is how I can prefer solutions to some of these things that the organization is going through. So, you can do your research as well. At the end of the day, we can't tell you every single thing, but we can, place you on that path, give you samples of, just to give you a bit of a head start on some of the things that you need to do. So again, you want to start well, move into the middle, still killing them, and then go like, the last stage of the interview, like really, really dropping gems and showing a lot of interest in the fact that, you really want to know about the organization. What does it look like for the successful person? How will you be measured? How will your performance be measured? Blah, 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 against the expectations. So all these things will tell you what the expectations are of you. And it just shows, yes, that I'm really interested, and I want to also know how I can be of good use to the organization. So extremely, extremely, extremely important, guys. I cannot see anybody, so I need to know if you guys are following. We've come to the end of the session, but I just want to, if there are, if there are, any questions or anything that you guys would like us to touch on. All right, thank you, Ladun. Okay. Tazi, I'm expecting your pitch tomorrow. Thank you very much.
I have a question.
Chibuzo.
I have a question.
Okay, shoot, please.
Can you kind of like explain or throw a little light on change management process?
Can I explain on change management process?
Yes.
Okay, I'll let Noah do that. Noah, do you have an example?
Yeah, so change management process. So you can only change something, right? Maybe you're working on a project or there's an existing thing. Sorry. So if they're asking you about change management, you need to understand, first of all, the context, right? Is it in a project context? Is it a BAU context? Whatever. But the fundamentals of change management
Oh, no,
is
I
just,
really you need to tell them business as usual.
yeah, BAU, business as usual. We should all know that by now, guys.
Business as usual.
Yeah.
Yes, BAU, business as usual.
Okay.
So, yeah, so basically, the first thing is to identify what needs to change, right? Somebody would, maybe you're in a project setting, the requirement needs to change, right? So first is identify what needs to change. The second thing is now for you as a BA to measure the impact of that change. And how do you measure the impact? So of course, you know, you either prioritize your requirement or what have you. But it's always important to, you know, measure the impact against your project constraint, like cost, risk, resources, etc. Because some change might jeopardize your budget. It might impact on resourcing. You might not even have resources to do it. It might be a big change, it might be a small change. So depending on the outcome of your impact analysis, you then take an action. So if you've consulted with your team, you've reviewed the impact of the change and it's a small change, it's not going to impact anything, your project constraint and all of that, then you take an action to maybe prioritize that change, implement it, all of that. You know, but if it's something that would affect your budget, your scope, etc., then you might need to report on that effect and, you know, get approval, all of that. You know, then if they approve it, then it means that budget will go up, resources will be provided, etc., and that's it. Then you implement the change. And then after you implement the change, then it gets to the monitoring phase where you monitor the impact of the change. Like this thing we change now, is it working as it should? Continuous monitoring and control. Now, you also need to, so that's like the life cycle. First thing, you identify the change, you review for impact, you consult, etc. Then you make an action for that change, if you're doing it or not, or whatever action. Then if the action is for you to implement, then you implement it. If it after it's implemented, of course, test all of those things and then you monitor and control. Now remember that that's in some scenario. In another scenario, in an agile environment, the way you manage change is different. So in an agile environment, because the mindset and the approach allows for change, that's the whole point. It's flexible. The way you manage change is not through this life cycle. This one is mostly in a waterfall approach, where you need to do all these things. But of course, in Agile, you will still measure the impact of a change, but it's not going to the product owner, and maybe if you're working as a PA or product owner, you make a determination of what to do. Once a change comes, you measure the impact. Is it going to add value? Ultimately, it's about value, and then you prioritize accordingly for your backlog, right? So you will not necessarily need to go into approval mode. However, if you feel like you measure the impact, the change does not make sense, it doesn't align to your project vision or objective, then you will nicely have to deprioritize, explain to the person that has reported this change and, you know, explain why you can't accommodate this within the scope of your development because it doesn't align with your objective, right? So you do all those work, and then what I'm trying to emphasize, the mindset is different based on different methodology. And that's why we say agile is like flexible, it allows you change, you know, response to change and all of that. Waterfall is not. So yeah, that's typically how. And change management, broadly speaking, if it's in a BAU environment, as I've said, you understand, it also still follows the life cycle of waterfall, as I mentioned earlier. So for example, if it's like a process improvement chain, you know, they brought you in, they want to change how they want to optimize their process. Maybe, you know, how they do onboarding for an organization is not effective. They want to review the whole process and kind of like work out the best optimal process for onboarding new staff. That's a change. Do you understand? So in implementing that change, it's not just about looking at one component, it's about really understanding it holistically. So you know the change, the objective of the change, you need to carefully work, understand all the stakeholders. It's more broad, like that's a project on its own. You understand all the stakeholders involved, the impact to them or the objective of the change, then you maybe document your assist, current process, understand it, then you'll be able to work with them to understand the gaps, the issues, to take them to the to be, right? The future state, and then you work on that. So that's like organizational process change. There can be change on, product that is already live, and we need to make changes as well. So change is in different shape or form, but we know that the life cycle really is that you first identify, understand the objective, then measure for impact, and you do that through different means, and then you take action, try to implement or reject, and then you maintain, you monitor, control all of that in any kind of setting you want to implement that. So everything we do leads to a change. You always need to know that. But at the core of it, our mindset is that when we make a change, we must be sure that, we must plan for it to be a positive change. Right. So we don't make change. Sometimes you want to make change with good intention, and then the customer are dissatisfied because people don't like to change things. Do you understand? They don't like to, if you are used to something, you just want to stick to it, you know? So that's why you have to carefully manage change. So change management is a broad concept, but if you can explain it like this, nobody will say you don't know what you're saying.
Yeah, thank you,
Is
Noah.
that clear?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, Chibuzo, exactly. So basically, Noah has just come off a project that is very similar to that, which is why I said you should answer it. But I think you just need to like keep things in mind. Say, for example, you find yourself in an interview and they've asked you this particular question, there's not a direct answer. Like you need to be showing that, it depends on your approach would largely depend on the type of project and the methodology as well that is being used. So you need to display that, okay, if it's the waterfall, if it's the agile methodology, these are the steps that you would take. And at the core of everything sits back inside that, software development life cycle. No matter what it is, it's still sitting within the software development lifecycle, whatever the methodology is. So impact is very key, no matter it is that you're doing. So you're remembering, your impact analysis, the risk management as well, and if there are any sign-offs there. So it's very, very important. And you can always refer back to this video if you need to, if you need more details. But if you were thinking to write your pitch on that, that would be really good as well. And you can just like come up with a nice story about the time that you supported that process and some of the steps that you took rather. You can do some other research.
Yeah, change management is also a very important question they can ask you. So really good for you guys to prepare an answer for this as well. As I've just explained, as if you can explain it that way.
Yeah.
Good. Yeah, and you can talk about a time you've implemented a change, supported that process. So yeah. Yeah. I think
so. Thank you, guys. Are there any more questions?
thank you so much, Tayo.
That's all.
So
I think you wanted to share something about.
yeah, I don't know if I can quickly just
I have a question, but you have to know.
yeah, go on. Yeah.
So you mentioned about questions that we can ask at the end of the interview.
Yeah.
Are you able to share those ones? I know you mentioned about performance, like what are the things you'll be like the KPIs sort of that will be measured against.
Yeah.
And also the link for that job scan, something, the one that compares your, if you could kindly share that. Is it already on the job
It is, but I can
Okay. I'll go back and look at it then. All right, sweet. Thank you. Yeah, that's it.
We'll also share the slide on the job board anyway, so you have
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. Thanks.
Alright. Okay, so now you can.
So just to wrap it off, please give me access to share. Just very quick. For you guys to just leverage the power of AI and just to speed up the process for you.
All right, you should have
Can you
access.
see my screen? Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can see it too.
Yeah, so like for example, you've gone to Seek now, you want to apply to this job, right? And by the way, who is in? You need to send this to Klaus.
He has it already. Already sent it to him.
He has applied to.
I'm not interested in Hobart.
He hasn't applied. He's working on his resume.
Oh,
Charles,
is he on this chat? Okay.
I'm here. Yeah, I just came in. Sorry, I just came back from work.
Anyway, I applied to this job. Do I know someone working in this company? I think someone working. Anyway, so yeah, so this is a job, right? That you want to apply to. So, for example, I can say, oh, ChatGPT, can you sorry, I just want to uh, uh, resume. Right. Um, sorry, this Zoom thing is just all right. So, okay. So it's really so what it's really prompting the. I think I'm actually not prepared for this. But let me look for a CV. It's been a while I applied though. Let me just first see.
you can use the template.
Huh?
Do you need the resume?
I'm looking for a resume that I can use. Sorry. Ah, yeah, I think I go one. Okay, I think I go one. So really just feeding it a bit. So it gives me the best result. So I'm giving it a bit of information, right? Wahala. All right, so too much story. So I'm gonna just copy all this. Now you still have to implement all the strategies that we've talked about today. But this will just help you quicken things up. So I didn't give it a role, but let me do that now. All right. Now what this has given me is giving me some description of some things that would align with the job. All right. I don't like this view. I don't like that view. I just want it to clear.
Yeah.
All right. So for readability, I think you guys get what I'm trying to do, hopefully. So what I'm trying to do basically is to get some to reduce my manual effort. So basically it has come up with description. It's not showing well as I want, but I'll prompt it better next time. So here you have the summary. It has given you the summary. It's very detailed. Let's see if it aligns with the job. So they said here, project management approaches, your experience, proven capability working with range of stakeholders, understanding, identifying key business requirements, ability to collaborate, communicate, strong computer literacy, particularly Office and SharePoint, and key responsibilities, review, project benefit realization, this and that. Collaborate with variety of stakeholders. Let's see if this aligns at all. Okay, result driven, nice, blah blah blah. Elicitation, yeah. Leveraging technology. Okay. Collaborated with stakeholders to understand. And this is not as detailed. You can add more, you can prompt it to add more details, but you can see it's talking about some of the things that are in that job description: benefit realization plans, developed and implemented business solutions to shape future of organization, foster collaboration with project managers, customer, third party, critical project, organization success. Again, you can tell it to add more details, right? And it will do that. So let's just do it. So that will just help you get an head start. So you can literally just copy some of these things, add it to what you already have, and then you can use the job scan, check, how many percent you are, and you maintain, accuracy, and you'll not, be doing because sometimes if you change sentence structure, then you might have typo and all of those things you don't want. Typo, grammatical errors, etc. So you can just use this to, and even if you've done a CV, you can actually copy the whole CV and say, okay, please rephrase this CV and do it to this job description, a new job description. So there are different ways. If you're not happy with the result, you prompt it further and tell it to add more experience. But make sure you're reading what it's giving, because sometimes it can repeat things and all of that. So you can see it has added more information, participated in Agile Waterfall project, leading to successful outcomes. So you can see it's also mentioning the outcomes in the description, right? So if you look at the team here, almost all the description I gave, it kind of like about the outcome. So yeah, remove bottlenecks, identification of bottlenecks and opportunities. Yeah, improve operational efficiency, which is another important thing. At the end of every task you perform, there should be an outcome, positive outcome in your CV. So that is also very important for ATS as well. So this can really help you. So you see everything it's saying, facilitating decision making and project progress. So all these things are the outcome of what each line of work that you did means. So, this is very good and it can really help you boost your ATS, result. And once you get that ATS up, right, you're in a good place. So by the time you do this now, I copy it into your actual document, format it properly, and scan it. ATS will give you some things that are missing. Then you add those things, and then you apply to this job. You're going to be like high ranking. You have a very strong chance. Now, this is not to say that all the jobs you apply with ATS CV, they will call you. It doesn't happen that, but you would have maximized your chance of being called. So I hope this helps as well, hopefully, and learned one or two things today. So that's it for me, really. Any question?
I please have a video because I came late. I'll just request for the video of this class so I can be able to go to the job scan and how it works. Then sorry that I came late. I just wanna, like my last interview I had, I don't know how to, this question, one of the questions that they asked me, take us through how you move from mechanical engineering to BA, to business analyst role, something like that. How come that? Oh, I can see your CV that you did mechanical engineering. How come, how did you get to become a BA, business analyst?
Oh, so, they actually, did you put mechanical engineering in your resume?
Yes, I have it. It's there in my first degree. I put my first degree mechanical engineering. Then I now have MBA in Sydney. First degree engineering is from Nigeria. MBA is from Sydney before PMP and quality management system.
Oh yeah, like okay, in terms of your education, that's what they asked me.
In terms of the progression, she did not go deep, but she just said she saw that from my resume that I started engineering background, mechanical. How come that I'm a BA now, something like that. So can you take us to the journey?
There are different ways, you can answer that question. Like it's an opportunity to shine and show how diverse and adaptable you are. Like, it doesn't matter what you've done. There are many people that have done, even studied Yoruba, or they've been teachers and doing professional IT jobs now. So it's about, first of all, sounding inspiring. I've always loved technology. I'm passionate about solving problems. So yeah, I started, you talk about your story. I can't talk about your story, but like you can share about how you got into mechanical engineering or how you never lost the quench of solving problems. And as you went through the course and all of that, and you maybe worked for a few years, you decided that, well, you know, can Chippy, this is getting boring now. I need to connect to my passion. I'm not enjoying this so much. And then you identify steps to actually help you make that transition. You said a few years ago, then I bumped into training material and I was curious, and then I started picking up things about, I found a role that I can actually add, then talk about the skills of a business analyst, right? Where I can actually add value to business and really create positive change. And because I'm someone that's adaptable, right? I'm always yearning for more knowledge, wanting to contribute positively. I picked on this and it was really interesting. I took a course, I developed my skills. I worked in an organization where they gave me a chance to actually start as a associate business analyst, and I've never looked back since then. So I've worked on several projects from this and that to this and that. Right now, I'm pretty confident with all the progress I've been making and kind of impact of the project I've worked on over the years, and then you talk about some of those projects and how it contributes to positive outcomes, right? And then it's all inspiring. So there are different ways you can spin that, and because at the end of the day, it's not even about spinning it, it's about you understanding that what you're doing is inspiring. Like you're a mechanical engineer, you come to this role, talk about that journey honestly, embellish, like I've said. So you'll be fine. Like, trust me, this is what some of them, especially here, maybe in Nigeria, people might maybe doubt you, but here, they like a compelling story, really. And if you're telling them the way I've just told you, like, and even better, connecting to how you've also added value along the way, right? It will be memorable for them.
Also to add to that, Charles, I don't know how you answered it, but there are different ways to answer. If that was the first question they asked you, I wouldn't even spend too much time on it, personally, if they've asked me that, I'll be saying something along the lines of, you're really impressed by, the commitment to innovation, and you're keen on, bringing your expertise into delivering exceptional solutions. So, your ability to your skill to wanting to, add value into continuous improvement is something that has really, really helped you in the course of your career. You can then also speak to the fact that you recognize the importance of technology. So for example, you can say like, oh, I recognize the importance of technology in achieving business objectives, and you pride yourself as someone that possesses that skill, to troubleshoot, to problem solve, and work at the intersection of business and technology, which was one of the considerations that you had, when you decided to really pivot into a role that makes you use those skills that you possess. And also, and then you just bring it back to the project that you've worked on and how those skills, how they've been relevant. At the end of the day, right, it all ties back to mechanical engineering, it all ties back to technology. So you're nailing to them that you recognize the importance of technology and being able to achieve business objectives, and you'd say you have a vast understanding of how to then integrate technology and the ability to act as a bridge between different stakeholders. So you don't like spend too much time, and you don't even give them direct answer. Oh, so I used to, nah. You spin it back to some of those core skills. Do you understand that? Of course, is relevant to that previous you being a mechanical engineer and now to a business analyst. It's all about technology, integrating technology with business and being able to, use it to add value in any organization you find yourself. So your commitment to innovation is one key thing. In case someone asks you again, let them know you're committed to innovation, you wanted to bring your expertise into delivering, useful solutions, exceptional solutions in any organization that you find yourself, and you recognize the importance of technology in achieving business objectives, and you pride yourself as someone that possesses that skill to you solve problems, work at the intersection of business and technology. So every question, that kind of situation, there's no right or wrong answer. It just depends on how you can use the right words.
Don't
Okay.
So like you have to be passionate when you're answering this question.
Yeah.
Like it's very important that you're passionate about it. Like so they know that you can't go answer it from place of fear, like, oh, they're trying to come
It's
for
not
me.
like you did anything
No.
bad, like people do it all the time.
Yeah.
Do anything bad, right? You're an inspiration. You need to understand that. And that's why you need to be passionate about it. What you're doing is not easy, right? And it takes a lot of mental capacity to be able to do this successfully. So you use it to your advantage. That is not a offense, like it's not something you should be ashamed of, something that you should be proud of. And it should be something that fuels you and give you a lot of energy to share your story. Do you think that affected you?
No, I don't think, because I did answer, but I did not carry along with mechanical engineering how I switched from mechanical engineering to. I did not dwell much on that. I dwelled much on my passion, just like what I dwelled much on my passion and my skills as a business analyst, and the passion what took me to become a business analyst, why I love being a business analyst. So I think I discussed more on that, and when I finished discussing, she just nodded her head. She said, "Okay, yeah," and then we moved to the next question. I think it was the second question anyway. The first question was, "Tell me about yourself and everything, about the companies I'm working and all my experience as far as all those." I think that was the second or third question anyway. Then, sorry, if time would permit, anyway. Other question I wanted to also follow up. That I did not actually plan for it was about the risk analysis. They asked about risk analysis. What were the risk analysis that I did in my previous projects, as a business analyst? What were the risk analysis that I did, what stuff like that? So I tried to mention some stuff that I identified some few risks, and then but you have to hand over to the risk manager, and then work with the risk manager or the risk team to mitigate the risk, Then they asked me of the particular risk that I actually work on, stuff like that, or what I identified.
What do you mean risk manager?
Something, it all depends. Some companies may have a risk manager or they may have a risk team where they can be able to mitigate, that you can work together with the risk manager or a risk team depending on the structure of the company.
I think they're asking you more the risks you analyze, you encountered on your project or what you work on, not necessarily your engagement with the risk team in your organization. So like every time you work on project, like there's always a risk. It's just like as we exist in life, we also face risks. You drive out of your house going to work. There's a risk, right? There are people that go out, they don't come back, right? So everything you do, by the mere fact that you're doing something, you're taking a risk. So now you're working on a project. What are the risks that can happen? Project
so the ones
failures.
I mentioned were just about the time, the timeline, the budgets, and resources. Those are the ones I mentioned.
Those are high level. In terms of deliverables as well, your day-to-day deliverables, right? You want to do a report, you're not able to complete it and it will impact something. It's also a risk, right? Risk of, there's no resources to work on some critical component as when you needed it based on timeline. And, you anticipated the risk. You try to find solution and option, which is broadly speaking what everybody here should also be thinking about, because at the end of the day, the way you add value is to also quickly identify risk, anticipate risk, be proactive, right? And think about it like your daily life. Like if you're working on a particular project and you know that something might happen, what you start looking for options, right? Plan B, plan C. And that's where plan B, plan C comes into play. So inherently,
what about competitor, as in competitor to your company, the company you're working with?
So when you are talking about risk in that context, focus on the risks, on project risk that you faced daily. That shows that you have experience. Now, thinking about it, what are the risks you faced working with the team? Huh? As you work with the team daily, what are some of the risks? Sometimes you risk
Is the
not
scope?
meeting your sprint goal.
Yeah.
You know,
Sprint goals, scope, the previous scope, resources,
exactly.
management of
Resources. Sometimes
resources.
your requirements are not clear enough, right? And the developer will go and build something that's not, and then when you come for review, right, then we'll come and say, why did you guys do it this way? And I'll be like, no, actually, I didn't work on that story and all. Anyway, just kidding. But there are risks that happens in every single thing you do. Now, for you to differentiate yourself from just a normal BA, you need to be able to display the fact that you anticipate all these risks. Now, for me to prevent, missed requirement or missed stakeholders or not validating requirement properly, I make sure there's a consensus. I go through the validation process. I identify stakeholders who needs to, validate correctness of something before we get into implementation, so that we don't risk building the wrong thing. We would have wasted money, resources, time, which you guys do on a norm. You guys waste resources because, again, you're still learning. Sometimes you don't validate requirement, you just go with assumption. Making assumptions is also a risk, because if the assumption is not correct, then you would have wasted time, resources, effort, because we need to now correct those wrong assumptions. And what happens is when you've not validated enough. So in that sense, not just going too far, like competitor analysis or risk or all those things. It's not, no, except it's in that specific context of, okay, if a company A and company B are trying to compete or something, then yeah, maybe risk exists. But if they're asking you, how do you analyze risk and manage, you need to be showing the fact that you're proactive. Every piece of work you're doing, you always anticipate what can go wrong and how would I react when this thing looks like it's going to go wrong. So you identify the risk, you look for solutions, which is like your plan B, plan C, in case plan A does not work. So workaround is called. Look for workaround to react to risk. When a risk then happens, right, and materializes, when a risk happens, what do you do? When you find a risk, what do you do?
You have to look for a way to eliminate or mitigate it.
Yeah, you then evaluate it, right, to see, before it becomes an issue. Yeah, the risk is not yet an issue until it materializes. So we look at it and say, oh, what can we do to resolve this thing? And that's you displaying your proactiveness. And then when you find solution, then you're reacting to that risk. Then you can now remember there's something called roam. Roam means there are some risks that you would do what you would accept. There are some that you mitigate. There are some that you would transfer. And there are some that you would, there's accept, there's mitigate, there's transfer, and sorry, there's one more, I can't remember now. So basically, if we say you'll be hearing mitigate a lot, right?
Eliminate.
Eliminate, right? Exactly. So if you accept a risk, you're accepting it that, well, there's nothing we can do right now. We will just take it. For example, in your team now, maybe you have only one front-end developer. We know that it's risky. If they resign, your work is there, but you can't do anything about it on your own. You can, of course, notify the stakeholder and tell them about this risk, but you accept it. You accept it that, yeah, this is the risk. You identify it, obviously, and communicate the impact, but you accept it. Now, when you are mitigating it is when something is actually done, like, okay, if that developer resigns, we will get someone else from another team. You're mitigating that situation. You eliminate it if we are saying, okay, we'll give you 2 developers. So if one resign, second person continue. Then we'll transfer it if it's like you see, insurance is a transfer type of risk.
Yeah.
Insurance, just look at insurance and you understand the concept of transferring risk, because you're effectively saying that if something bad happens, then my insurance company will be responsible for it. Do you understand? That's
I
the
get it.
way
Yeah.
the transfer works. You're transferring that risk to somebody else to become their problem. You buy a house, you pay insurance on the house, so that in case something happens, right, they would be the one, help you, like bearing the brunt of that risk. That's it. That's transferring the effect of that risk to somebody else. Of course, before for insurance, you will pay, right? So, yeah. So that's the concept. So when you identify that as an evaluate option, then you roam it. Like, am I going to accept it? Am I going to mitigate, eliminate, or like transfer it? That's your action. Yeah.
Yeah, I
But you
get it.
did this in PMP now, brother. Didn't you
I
do
did it
this?
now. Of
Did you
course,
have
I
PMP?
did it. I
Or you
did it.
have done Dagbo PMP?
No, you don't say now. Since 2021, I did PMP. I know it, but not. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
I just need to go and
But
refresh
anyway,
my.
just kidding. But yeah, you get that's the approach.
Yeah, I get it.
So in everything we do, there's risk, and the better you can anticipate and respond to risk, then the better your work outcomes, because you are always evaluating possibility of something going wrong and then making sure it doesn't go wrong.
Yeah.
So when you constantly do that, you're setting yourself and your project for success. Then, well, we just go, inshallah, whatever happens, happens. We just react. We are reactive. We don't anticipate, you know.
Yeah.
So that's the whole concept. And yeah, that's a really good question. And that also happens. So you need to think about your answer to that and say, okay, when they ask me how do I mitigate risk, or they can ask you, how do you mitigate risk? Or what's your risk management approach? What does risk mean to you? They can ask you anything on risk. You know the concept. You identify, you evaluate options, you kind of accept, mitigate, and all of it. You roam your risk. And yeah. And you talk about a project. So yeah, there's one time, in this organization, I'm working on this project, we have resourcing issues, and also stakeholders were not engaged. So when I was trying to validate requirements, it was difficult to get stakeholders to get on board, to validate, to confirm if it meets their expectation and all of that. So what I had to do, I had to look for creative approach. Again, you need to finish off by spinning the positive, right? I have to look for an approach where, okay, I would email all the requirements that concerns particular stakeholders for them to validate at their convenient time. That is you showing that you have different ways of solving problems. Oh God. Okay.
All right, thank you. Sorry, one more. What about question?
One more.
Sorry, a question where they asked about if you have what's your level of experience in handling data with SQL and Power BI. Because I think
in handling what?
In data handling, if you have
API.
What is the depth of experience you have in data handling? If you can handle, if you have, based on your experience, if you have handled a lot of data before already, and what tool? Do you have much experience about Power BI and SQL? In that case, how do you answer it? Because sometimes they'll ask you to go into details about Power BI or SQL a little bit, and I'm not so much into that already. So how are you able to, handle that question? Considering the fact that
it's about learning the basics of Power BI, right? So you can't bullshit anybody. Like the person asking you that probably knows Power BI. There's no bullshitting there. It's about preparing. If you see a job that says we need Power BI, critical skills Power BI, then before you go for that interview, at least make an effort to do a bit of research so that you are well positioned to answer that question, right? There's no pre-populated answer for that. It's about you learning Power BI, right? At least on a surface level, like, this is for visualization. Okay, I've kind of handled some customer data in one of my projects before, the transactions from customer. We had to analyze the patterns, we did some SQL scripting and all of that. And then we were able to pump this data and interpret it to the stakeholders using Power BI, because that's our visualization it provides a graphical, concise report, of the data that we've analyzed and prepared, transformed. So in saying that, you have demonstrated that, okay, you have data handling skill, and, you can, again, I will be buttressing that, for example, and this is from my own experience. So if you see something that you need to go and research, when you say data handling, okay, I work on a project that is a transactional project providing financial service for customer. Now we have over 40,000 customers doing transaction month on month. So we wanted to know the insight, see the active agent, see the type of transactions that they were, doing, see, okay, the downtime, seeing when the peak period were, all of that. So how do we know that? It's about getting the data, the transaction data, and transforming we get all this data from the data sources, like, your databases, and then we did scripting to pull out the data, transform the data, into the meaningful insights we're trying to gain about this business, right? And then we pump this data into these two, Power BI, transform the created graphs and, concise reporting. For this, you don't need to go into, this is how to configure the report. It's about demonstrating that, Power BI is used for visualization. And I also have experience with other tools like Tableau, which does similar job as well. That way, you've demonstrated that, even if it's been 4 years I looked at anything, analyzing data and all of those things in that detail. But this thing that I just said, you can research, that in 30 minutes and really just get a story out and write it and rehearse it and tell them that's it. If you see, Power BI description in the job, it's likely they can ask you that question. Even if you don't see, they might, but it's not rare. It's rare that they will ask you if you don't see it. And if they ask you, if it's not in job description and they're asking you that and you genuinely don't know the tool and you don't even have an idea of what the tool does. So for example, if they ask you, say Asana, for example, maybe you've not used Asana on a day-to-day, or you can also be talking about the fact that you've used Jira, you know that Asana on the high level is like Jira and is used for product management, moving tasks here and there, showing visual signals and all of those things. That's fine. You don't need to go into detail. It's not like they will say, oh yeah, come and do the thing now, come and use the tool. It's bullshitting them. But to bullshit them, you need to know what you're talking about confidently. At least that's why you need to, if you see something on a job ad as you're applying, you don't know, you do research, what's this thing about, what's this tool? Just do a quick 10 minutes, watch a video on it. Then you have a broad, idea of what the tool does or what that concept speaks to. And also, the last thing I want to say is that for every interview you go, always make sure you find a way to deliver what you can, to tell them what you can do for them. You don't need to know everything, but at least you know some information about the company, about us. Go to their about us, read about what they do. And as a business analyst, think about ways you can add value, because most often than not, 85% of the candidates interviewing will not really talk about what they would be able to bring to the table. You doing that will set you apart and make you memorable in their minds.
All right, thank you, Noah.
Yeah. I hope that's the last question, guys.
Yeah, that's the last one.
Thank you.
I have another question. Just joking.
Joko, I'm tired, guys.
Just joking.
All right, I think we've gone enough
There's
hours.
one more
Thank
simple
you.
question. No, sorry, this one is very simple. They asked me this question. This is if I want to present what is in Jira, I want to present to the stakeholders what is in Jira. How will I present it? Will I just present what is in Jira? How will I present it? What tool? How will I present it? I said I'll use PowerPoint. But in my mind, I was thinking, do I need to use Power BI? I wasn't very sure of Power BI, but my answer was PowerPoint anyway. Then I will summarize what is in Jira, put in PowerPoint, and present to my stakeholders. You just not
Yeah, that's it. Nobody cares about present. You can't
Also,
just go with Jira.
also, Charles, that question is not like direct. You should always let them know. It depends on the type of stakeholders. So it depends on are they technical stakeholders or non-technical stakeholders? You should be saying something like, well, this will largely depend on the type of stakeholders that are in that session. If they are technical stakeholders, then yes, they can understand what Jira is speaking to. So you may have a PPT, but you may also actually share your Jira screen and you can show them. But if they're non-technical, then of course, you may completely lose them. If you're showing them Jira, they don't know what that is. So, another way to answer that is it will largely depend on the type of stakeholders. But if it is X type of stakeholder, this is what I would do. I would share my screen with them because I know they have a very good understanding of what Jira is speaking to. But if it's non-technical stakeholders, and I would really like to know my point, I would probably be doing a PowerPoint presentation because, they wouldn't understand all the, stuff that in Jira. So yeah, so that's a way to answer that.
All right, thank you. No more questions today. Thank you very much for your time. I
still
hope
have one more anyway, but since you said there is no time, still have one more.
What's the
let
question?
me just throw in. I'm just trying to configure it because I think I jotted down some key points that time. Now you have you have the stakeholders. Your stakeholders are you have developers in your team as the stakeholders. Then you have the business people, and so some of these people you need some technical terms to relate to them. Now, how are you able to? How will you be able to present or have a meeting with all the stakeholders, considering that some of them are engineers, some of them are engineers, some are developers, which meaning that they need to you have to communicate with them in terms of technical terms, and also you have stakeholders that are from the business side of it. They are non-developers, they are non-engineers. How are you able to communicate to bring everybody to the same goal? You know what I mean? To get the result of what we want to discuss. Consider that these people are non-technical and non-engineering, and these people are engineering.
So first of all, just know that you don't do one side fit all, right? It depends on the objective of the meeting you're doing. So you want to do a meeting that you have technical and non-technical people. It should be as like you will not be using technical terms. Balance. Nobody needs to know all the technical jargon. But every meeting has a focus. There are meetings that you have with your team member, you speak freely your technical terms and explain concept. That's it. The other business discussions as well, where you have mostly business stakeholder, you use your hesitation technique and have those sessions, interviews, workshop, focus group, etc., observation. So that is, but if you have a session that both set of stakeholders must be there, make it neutral. Just communicate in simple language, nothing technical, no jargon, clear and concise conversation, whatever the meeting is about.
All right, thank you. That's all for today.
Okay, thank you. So we will be having more of these sessions. I think I sent one for testing. So it's important that you begin to build relationship with the people in your team, testers, developers, UI design, really understand their thought process, what they do. Right? Once you know what they do, that's simply like you being vast. Please. So yeah, we'll leave it at that today. Thank you.
Thank you guys for joining. Really appreciate it. Please watch the video. Also share the PowerPoint. So thank you.